This is the realest show out.
You did the opposite of what I think most people do. Sometimes it can be kind of scary to just put yourself out there.
That's real. That's raw. That's exactly what we're looking for. We look forward to connecting with you guys on all of our social media platforms. The way to support us is to like and comment on all your favorite episodes. And please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications for the next Gut Check Uncut. What's up, guys? Todd Special here, co-host of Gut Check. I'll be Biscuit in the house. No echo this time.
No, I went with like the higher pitch.
Can you do that again, just so everybody
It's the Gut Check.
Damn it!
Like
if this
that?
doesn't work out, man, I'm
Is that
telling you,
Backstreet Boy kinda?
voiceovers probably
Gut
at
check.
most, but not doing songs by any
Motherfucking
means.
Gut Check.
Listen, this next guest is an absolute stud. We've had a lot of people on so far, but I'm going to go ahead and say it because I know you say it a lot. This is definitely one of my favorites because, you see someone online. This guy's got 416,000 followers or subscribers on YouTube. He's had over 34 million views of his content, 2,500 plus videos. I mean, he's all over the place, right?
Yeah.
But he's as real as it gets. I mean, because you never know, right? Like you talk to some people and you're like, are they going to be cool? Are they going to be fucking douches? Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Ferry, everyone, is an absolute great human, and he's a guy that just cares, man. Like he didn't have to do this, but he said yes, right?
He's a beast. What's really cool is that, and he talks about it a little bit, about his family being in real estate for a really long time. And sometimes you wonder if they got in the industry and they got handed a lot of things, and they're not, as good as one would normally have to be without being handed some kind of business like that, which he wasn't even really handed, by the way. But dude, he's insanely smart and insightful, and gave a lot of my notes are all over the place, but I gave a lot of really, really, really good advice. So it's really no surprise after this conversation, at least, that he has done as well as he has.
Well, I mean, look, we're pretty selective on who we have on the show because, with us, being new and all joking aside, right? Some sort of new podcast, a lot of people would just be begging to have people on. We both agreed we wanted to be selective on who we chose, and if they said yes, great. If they didn't, whatever. But it's great to see a guy like Tom Ferry that's at his level. He's got 350 plus employees, which you guys will hear about. He's got a massive organization, but he just cares, man. He wants to impact people's lives. I'm going to get into one thing that he said, and we'll get right into this thing. He says people get conditioned by their environment. So I want you guys to think about that when you're listening. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get this thing going.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Gut Check.
What's up, guys? Todd Special, your co-host of Gut Check. This is B-Bisc with me in the house.
What's going on?
Listen, this next guest is phenomenal. I mean, I honestly was surprised he even said yes because we have a total of 3 or 4 followers right now. So maybe he's one of them. Who knows? But we did ask. He came on. Tom Ferry is the #1 ranked real estate educator. He's a best-selling author of Life by Design and Mindset, Model, and Marketing. As founder and CEO of Ferry International, which was created in 2005, it's the real estate industry's leading.
You're not going to read that whole bio, are you, man?
No, I'm going to go into it
We
though.
picked our favorite spots.
You got to give us. We picked some favorite spots,
We
but I
need
got
to
tell
cut
you.
my bio. I'm looking at my team. My bio needs to go to like, hey, here's Tom. Let's go.
Yeah.
Just so you know, we're running this just like it is with zero editing. That's why we love Tom Ferry. He doesn't give a shit.
of
He's
course.
going on. So, but he's the host of a popular YouTube series, The Tom Ferry Show, delivering free, fresh, and relevant real estate tips weekly, and has 416,000 subscribers to date, with videos views in excess over 11 million. He's also got a podcast called The Podcast Experience, which we definitely watch. He offers highly engaging training events. Tom has more than 30,000 hours of coaching. He's a sought after and renowned speaker. And the truth is, man, we can read shit about him, but I've seen this guy on video on stage. He's just fire. He spits everything with just honesty, integrity, and the guy is a no bullshit type of guy. His passion's fueled by a commitment to discipline and holding professionals accountable. His core values, which again, we're going to get through this quickly because I tell you, dude, these core values seem to be a common thing with people that are really striving at a high level. His are strive for greatness, embrace innovation, build and maintain trust, deliver value, and execute the relentless discipline, which we will talk about. He's an avid investor. He's also mentioned the New York Times, the Inc. 5000, Wall Street Journal, and the Huffington Post, and many, many more. His mission statement, and we'll end it at this, is holding professionals accountable to fulfill their greatness. It's pretty cool, man.
Dude,
So
one day
Tom
I will
Ferry,
be able to
dude.
have a biography like that. But then I think the bigger you get, the easier it is to have a bio that you just said, hey, I'm Tom.
Hey,
I know who he is.
He's the first person to cut us the fuck off. And he's like,
love it.
stop talking about me. Let's add some value.
Because it all feels ego-y. So Brandon, like literally, like people will say to me, like, what do you want to say in the bio? I'm like, just say, if you made the mistake of clicking on one of this guy's ads, you know who he is because he followed you around the internet for 11 months.
We love that type of marketing. Well, dude, seriously, we're so excited to have you on. We've had some pretty awesome guests so far and some massive followings. But there's something about you when I see you on video and on stage, man, you connect with people. As you can see, you're a real dude. Gut Check is about bringing real people to help give real advice. So tell us a little about who Tom Ferry is, please, if they don't know who you are.
Classic story, born and raised in Orange County, California, son of a serial entrepreneur. Grandmother was a rock star real estate professional in Huntington Beach, retired in like 1978. And the first thing she did was bought like a black Trans Am, like Smokey and the Bandit. Like she was the coolest grandmother on the planet, like my hero. Got kicked out of 4 high schools, graduated with the GED. I wasn't stupid, but I just was not into sort of traditional education. I wanted to figure out how we can go to Todd's house, throw a party, and see if I can get the entire school to leave and go to your house. So I was just like early leadership skills, basically. And then, kicked out of both parents' house, spent a little time on the streets, and not like in a bad way. Went to my dad's house. He lived in Newport Beach, California. So people are like, oh, you lived on the streets. I'm like, yeah, I was on Balboa Island. Like, it was summertime. It wasn't that bad.
It's a different type of shit.
If you had to do it, I could couch surf like along the coast. It was good. Had an epiphany when I was young. I was working in a grocery store, midnight to 9s, got accelerated very quickly just because of like hard work and drive and, just a desire to, whatever I was going to do, I was going to do well, right? Like that was my mindset. And then I remember sitting there looking down the aisle at one of my buddies he was like super old. He was like 30. And I thought to myself, I'm making $12 an hour. He's making $12 an hour. I'm not sure if this is what my future is. And it was literally days later that my dad like walked in the grocery store, and I never really had context for him. He is a legend. Like for context, guys, he was Earl Nightingale. Do you guys know that name?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right. So Earl Nightingale started what we would all call the motivational sales training speaking industry. Nightingale Conant Corporation went on to be the legendary producer of, thousands of the most Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, just go on and on and on. Sure. Right. He was his number one sales guy for like 3 years and decided he wanted to go out and build his own speaking business. So he did that. So, he was always this guy that was, in and out of the garage, in and out of a suit. And I didn't really understand what he did. But I knew that he was driving a Rolls Royce and I was driving a Honda 125cc motorcycle, which was like a lawnmower on wheels. And I was living in a crappy apartment. And I was thinking to myself, maybe he's not just like a rich, stupid guy. Like maybe there's something like, and I remember him walking into the grocery store one night and it's like midnight, guys. And I've got like purple hair, probably wearing like either, Bauhaus or the Grateful Dead or, some crazy t-shirt.
That's a band, by the way, Brandon. Grateful Dead's a band. Brandon's a little younger, so I just wanted to let him know who he was.
Okay, so that's a Google Grateful Dead. I'll be 51 in
Google
August.
Tom Ferry and purple hair and see if anything comes up.
There are some photos. Right, I try and get all that stuff off, but here's the deal. Like I remember saying to him, I want to run your company and having no idea what that meant. And he literally said, hey, when the drugs wear off, come back and talk to me. And so the joke goes, I waited like 5 hours and I went back and I was like, and I literally cut my hair, like tried to get the purple out and, went to his house the next day and had like this janky little plan of like, I'm going to go learn accounting. Then I'm going to run your shipping and receiving. Then I'm going to take over your marketing. Then I'm going to take over your sales. Then I'm going to be deemed the president of the company at 24 years old. And he just kind of laughed and he's like, that sounds great. All right, here's what you're going to do. I'm going to put you over here. And he just kind of assigned me some like very remedial tasks, but it was beautiful because he basically said kind of wax on, wax off. You have to learn every facet of the business. And that journey took me 9 years, right? 9 years later, I actually earned the title. I helped take the company and sort of transform it in the early days from like a little $3 million a year speaking business to like a $7 million business. And then when I took it over, I took it from $7 to $45 million in revenue in about 5 years. And I say that I just kept doing my highest and best. Everybody else that I hired, the management team, they were the ones, right? It was the frontline sales team. It was everybody that was doing their part to make this happen. So when people say, oh, I drove the company, like, they may have had the vision and the foresight and the leadership and the accountability, but like a leader's job is to have intentional non-doing.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Remove resistance for your sales team, remove resistance for your ops team. You're like, it's like, that's your real job, right? Get everybody collaborating and working over iconic tools. But then I left and I started my own business, and it's been the same thing, you know, zero to back to north of $60 million in revenue. And today we've got, call it 350 people inside the company in about, I think, 4 countries, 3 continents. And we're just, you know, we're having fun. Like, that's the thing. And let's be clear, as I say that, I'm also very present to, as you guys are. The last 460 days were like really hard.
Yeah.
Right. Hard on everybody, myself included. And though we were able to navigate that environment by reshaping the value that we delivered to the marketplace, you know, we had a very successful year, as did all of our coaching clients had in residential real estate or in mortgage. They had a phenomenal year. But make no bones, it was a year that really revealed who people really are. Sure. Like, do you care about your clients, or are your clients a number? Yeah. Are you willing to make phone calls and just say, B, I'm just checking in, man. How are you? Like, how's your family? Like, not a sales call. Like, you're my client. I sold you a house 10 years ago. I'm thinking about you, man. Do you need anything? Does your parents need anything? And the more I saw as I was offering that suggestion to my clients, I saw who was the real deal.
Yeah.
I saw who was going to make it, whether the market ever turned or we went back into a 2007, 8, 9 environment. That I knew, Todd, like, that was the difference that was going to make the difference. And people were like, you know, what do we need to do? And I'm like, you need to double down on ROR, return on relationships. You need to take care of people. And yes, we modified sales approaches and all that kind of stuff, but, you know, we'll get into all that. I mean, it's been an unbelievable last, call it 460 days. Different for you guys in Florida. I was in California, right? So you could certainly say coastal, but polar opposites in terms of governance. Yeah. And yet a lot of people had a phenomenal year last year because I think they got reset in their values. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people that we've had the luxury of speaking with so far, there's this common little comment that keeps coming up. It's the relationships are the new currency. I think that it's always been that way.
It's always been. Yeah.
They dived in a lot harder in the last 460 days using
the
your
good
numbers.
Ones did.
They did. The ones that actually knew what it meant. I think a lot of people to that point, you know, life gets going, man. It's smooth. It's sailing. Everybody's making money. The life is good. And then all of a sudden this hits you dead in the face, where resiliency really has to take charge. And then you do find out who the real people are, which is a really big part of what this show is, which we're glad to have you on. Yeah. It's about fighting through that hard. But man, that relationship is the currency. It's always been that way, but I think people forget about it when they start getting rich.
Well, it can get easy to forget about it, I feel, when you are able to continue your success and rely on the transactional portions of your day, and you don't really have to focus on the relationship. Sure, it's there. Yeah, I can maintain that, but it's not a massive focus. So you kind of go on this cruise control. But then when that transactional business has some question marks on it, and I love that you said it, the people that went back and focused on the relationship, those are probably the ones you see in your industry that are being successful last year and today, right? Yeah,
and relationships, by the way, could be sales managers' relationship with their sales team,
of course,
right? CS managers' relationship with their CS reps, right? The biz dev team, the ops team, the engineers. Look, I mean, business is relationships. Like, that's like any way you slice it or dice it. My neighbor across the way over here is the former CEO of American Airlines, and he was the CEO during 9/11. And so you can imagine like the stories that he's shared. And all the lessons he's just trying to impart. He says, Tom, at the end of the day, I don't care if you're in the airline business, you're in the oil business, you're in the sales training business. It's all relationships.
It is.
Period. End of story.
Yeah. Well, that being said, I kind of want to segue into a little bit about culture. You know, we've had a lot of talk of culture on the past shows, and people keep saying, man, you know, companies, cultures, it's the blood that flows through the veins of an organization. But there's a happy balance, and you're definitely known as a non-nonsense motivational guy.
I like that, a nonsense
guy. But no nonsense motivational guy. But the truth is, you empower your people at a very high level, but you do that by holding them accountable. So, how do you balance on a phenomenal culture with that kind of no nonsense, atmosphere in your organizations?
So first you got to take like, what is accountability, right? So, so when I say to people, I remember saying, like, when we started the coaching industry in the real estate business a million years ago, and we said, hey, I'm going to hold you accountable, right? People would like literally, right? Like, they thought we were just like going to browbeat them every single day. You know what accountability is? It's caring. It's the willingness to ask good questions. It's the willingness to slow down and say, Brandon, I'm here for you, man. Like, what's going on? How you doing? What do we need to work on today? Where are you at in relationship to your goals? That's accountability, right? That's accountability. Like my son who wants to graduate from college or get into college. And I say, look, with your current GPA of like negative 0.7, you're probably not going to have any options. And so why don't we create an accountability around, let's review where we're at with our assignments and our, is that tough? Is that tough accountability? Or is that like, I care about my son and I know he's got the ability, but he's just distracted by girls and life and his buddies and friends. Right.
Yeah.
So having a culture that is like committed to accountability is really just that. Right. Like I look at it more as like, I really care. So I'm willing to say, how you doing? What's going on? What's really going on? Because we know business is people. Yeah. And if someone's relationship is off track, they're going to struggle in the workplace, right? If their finances are off, they're going to struggle in the workplace. If they feel uncertainty about their health, their future, or whatever, like they're going to struggle, right? There's no separation between your outside life and your inside life. I mean, it's all the same. It's your life. So I try and create an environment where people feel open to have those conversations. I got two of my teammates literally sitting right over here. Laura, who joined me a whopping 6 days ago. And
congrats on the new job, Laura.
Can I share? So today I had one of the companies I invested in just got acquired by a SPAC. So I'm all excited about, one of many companies, Trigger, that's a success. Yay. And then I say to Tristan, my main videographer, and he's like, yeah. And Laura says, yeah, I don't really know a lot about the stock market. Right. Well, that's an opportunity for a manager, a leader to lean in and say, well, are you interested? Like, I'd love to show you. And then even better, Tristan, who's right over here, is like, oh yeah, he and I had that same conversation like a year and a half ago. And now all of a sudden I've invested in a couple of things and I just started small. Like, that's also accountability.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, yes, do I want Laura to be more successful in the workplace? Of course. But do I want Laura also to have a better financial life? Do I want her to be able to pass that down to her children and have like the family tree and dynamic change because of that? That's a culture of accountability also.
So it's easier to do that if you got a small team that you're always with day in, day out, 5 people, 10 people. But when you get to run a large of a corporation as you have, how do you make sure that your quote unquote troops on the ground or people that are able to touch everyone every day kind of have that same feeling and importance on that accountability piece and culture as you? Is that in the hiring process? Is that, how do you manage that?
So I'll give you a little insight. So one of my good friends used to be the CEO of Zillow, and he was there in the very beginning. His name is Spencer Raskoff. He took the company public. He left, and now he started a bunch of other businesses since. And I remember flying up one time with my executive team to Zillow because we both operate in the real estate space. I'm doing X. They're doing like 50X in terms of revenue, right? Public company, huge business, 4,000 employees. And I at the time was maybe sitting at like 200 employees. And I remember asking him, look, you talk so much about culture. He's interviewed on his own podcast a bunch of CEOs. Everybody talks about it. You guys are talking about it. I'm talking about it. What's the key? And he said, you have to operationalize your culture. You have to operationalize your values. And I'm like, I understand all those words. Can you give me an example? And he said, you hire to it. You fire to it. When there's something inside the business that you guys have been doing for a long time and you decide to kill it publicly, right? Or even privately, when you announce it, you say it's because we embrace innovation. These are my value chips that I keep on my desk. And by the way, this is one of the ways that we operationalized it. We gave the chips to everybody inside the organization and said, this is what we believe in.
I might steal that.
Right. So it's whether it's there or it's written on the walls or you hire and fire to it, you bring it up in the company meetings, right? So, every 45, 60 days, I'm in front of the whole company and I'm like, hey, as you guys know, one of our values is we embrace innovation. We made the decision to go from software X to software Y. So it's going to be uncomfortable, but innovation is always a little uncomfortable in the beginning. And then you show a visual example of like the hardest mountain ever to ski down until you look back up and it just kind of looks like this. Right. And I say, it always looks like this. But, once we're in it 60, 90 days, we're going to look back and say, smooth sailing, we got this. So again, because as a company, we embrace innovation. That's why we're doing it. You're communicating through those values and, does it stick? The CEO of Microsoft in a little mastermind session recently shared with one of my buddies, who's another tech CEO up in the Pacific Northwest. He said, a third of my workforce is engaged in what we're committed to. And everybody's trying to figure out, how to hire more talent, how to get more people that are committed. He's like, I'm just going to put all my resources into getting the other 60+%, 70% of my business, all my people, 300,000 around the world, a little more committed to our values. We do that, we win.
So retention versus just replacing.
Yeah.
I was literally going to that, right?
Yeah,
because, we hear a lot of people that are in your position and obviously growing massive companies, and they always say the core values and what they need to stick to, you need to hire and fire to it. Now, I want people to understand that, one of the last guests we had on said, hey, dude, the hardest thing for someone at any size of an organization, but let's say a smaller organization, okay? They've got a team of 5 rock star salespeople, and these guys are crushing it. And a lot of organizations, most of the income, when you have a large team, comes from the top 10, 15%,
80-20,
right?
yeah.
80-20, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they said, oh my gosh, well, if we're gonna implement these core values and these operational ideas that are gonna help us scale at a larger level, how important is it for those people to be on board with those core values? Well, a lot of them say the people that don't understand how firing, right? This guy literally said, I had a guy making $500,000 a year. He was not upholding our core values. He goes, and we let him go. And he said a lot of companies won't do that. So, I think it's afraid. Is it because they're afraid of the income loss and they're not realizing what the growth can be if they actually get a group that sticks to the core values of your company?
Everybody's going to have a different opinion. Mine would be that they're just like, they did the value assignment because it was an assignment. Someone said to them, maybe from their board, or an advisor said, well, have you done your mission and values yet? They're like, no. So they did the assignment. But, it was like also getting a receptionist and then getting new paint on the walls. It was a project, not something that they were absolutely committed to. Because when you're committed to it, you terminate that person.
Yeah, you have to be committed, right?
100%.
Can Laura see us through another screen or anything?
She's watching over there.
Okay, Laura, I need to add, this is going to be a
guys.
very serious question. Which one's more handsome, Laura? That's what I want to know. And you can't say Tom.
I said
'cause
congrats
you work
on your new
for
job
Tom,
before
so
anyone else did.
You work, so.
Is it Tristan or me?
No, it's not.
Tristan, she said, she's like, I'm a married woman.
It doesn't. It's an opinion, Laura. It's an opinion. We have fun here, so get up.
I'm
Let's
just gonna
get
go
in.
and say,
I love this. Hey, he wins.
This is like,
oh, that hair, he wins.
God.
Tristan, you
Damn,
win.
you're sexy.
Jesus, we just lost it all. Thank you. You didn't have to show us to make us feel bad about
Tristan's
ourselves.
been with me like 4 years now. We're in Orlando and people are walking up like, hey man, can I get a selfie with you, Tristan? I'm like, dude, you're a selfie.
That's awesome, dude.
There's a guy behind the camera and I'm always like, get over here, man. Let's go.
Well,
So,
dude, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Speaking of Orlando, which I love that you were just here. It's kind of fun. We've been in Orlando. I've grown up in Orlando. I actually have a lot of family in LA. But we've worked with different sales industries and helped different companies in different sales industries. And it's crazy when COVID hits, there's been a lot of industries, especially in Orlando, with a lot of the leisure and hotels and timeshare and all that kind of stuff, right? They got absolutely massacred when COVID hit. There's a lot of unemployed, very, very great sales talent out there. You're talking about a year ago now. And I would probably venture to guess 8 out of every 10 of my friends, halfway decent salespeople, all of them went to be a real estate agent. Every single one. All of them. Because it was, I don't know if they thought it was the easy way or it was easy to get a license and then I'll see how it goes or whatever the case may be. But I would love your thoughts on somebody that goes into it because they think it's the easier way, be my own boss, run my own business. And I'm interested to see what you've seen in terms of the amount of people that maybe went into real estate as an agent during the COVID period and how many are still there and being successful. I'm interested to know your thoughts on that.
You just want to rip into your buddies.
Oh my God! I would
You're
love
gonna cut
it.
this out.
Tom, we just fucking started, so we rip into them. You're gonna love this. We're getting warmed up. Okay. So go ahead.
But the crazy thing, I just think it's ironic how I know I've never been a real estate agent. However, I have friends that are very successful doing that, and I know that it is the furthest thing from easy. And especially when everyone wants to get into it, it's ironic. They all got into it because they thought it was an easy thing, but they created more competition, which was going to make it more difficult. You're such a massive figure in that industry. I would love to know your thoughts.
So again, if you look at the data, let me give you just some insight. The real estate industry is like other sales professions, especially when you're a solo entrepreneur. It is an endemic churn business. So every year we bring in 200,000-300,000 agents, and every year 200,000-300,000 agents leave. The difference of the last couple of years, unlike 7, 8, 9, 10, or maybe even 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, leading up to the global crash.
Sure.
we were growing steadily as an industry from, when I got started, there's like 680,000 agents in the industry. Now there's like 600,000 agents in California, right? Like it's just, it's bonkers. And some of them are with NAR, they're deemed realtors, and some of them are licensed real estate agents and they're not a part of NAR. So here's the thing, you ready? I look at it and say, when you look at this, when you actually look at the data, it's like 90% of all the transactions in Orlando, and that's a big market, right? In Orlando, 90% of the transactions are done by the top 50% of the agents in the MLS, right? Yeah. So for context, if this year we sell, let's say there's 7 million homes sold. Well, that means technically there's 14 million transactions buy side, sell side. Right. So if there's 7 million, 14 million transactions, and there's 1.5 million agents, one could say, well, that means the average probably does this. Well, none of that is true. It's literally the top half do 90% of all the transactions. And to be in the top 90, right, in that top 50%, excuse me, you may have only sold 5 or 6 houses because 40% of the agents in the US haven't closed a sale yet.
Yeah, it's crazy.
1.5 million agents, 40% they've not closed a transaction.
That's insane.
Right? Yeah. Now, guess what, Brandon, to your point, some of them are new, right? And some of them aren't, right? Some of them have been in the business forever. Some of them are excellent at making coffee. They're the person at the office that everybody loves to hang out with. They can help you figure out what your password is. Or maybe they're a licensed real estate broker and they don't do transactions. Maybe they're a part of the MLS and they don't do transactions. So there's it's muddy in that 40%. But here's the thing. If you're in that top 50, you may have only done 5 or 6 deals, but the people at the top, like in Orlando, right? I was just at dinner a couple nights ago with Renee Funk and her husband Jeff. They'll do like 180 deals. I'm with Jenny Weimer. She'll do 1,200 transactions. I'm trying to now think, Tom Nickley, right? Tom Nickley is going to do like 850 transactions. So it's like this. Todd, how many guys have a 6-pack?
Oh God, 5%.
Right, and how many go to the gym? You with me?
Yeah, for sure.
How many people have a black belt?
Of course.
But how many people sign up for some form of martial arts?
Yeah.
Right. So I look at your buddies and say, look, are you willing to do what it takes over the next decade to get the black belt, to get the 6-pack?
Yeah.
Because there is no fast way to do it.
No. Did you ask me? I'm sorry. Did you ask me about the 6-pack because I look stronger than
I thought
Brandon?
you were going to say 50%
I don't know, because he didn't ask you. He didn't ask you about the 6-pack. It's Brandon
if you tattooed on the muscles, otherwise.
I did. If it's the right artist, will give you the right definition. But Brandon worked just as hard on his 1-pack. I just want to be clear, but that's fine.
You guys with me, sort of metaphorically?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I'm always encouraged because I get on my YouTube channel, so I have like 33.4 million views, I think, cumulative since 2009. Which by the way is nothing, right? Like Britney Spears does something exciting, Jay-Z does something, and they get like 38 million views on a Tuesday, right? so I'm very clear, like I have a very narrow lane, but the lane that I'm in, there's a lot of people in it, and they it's 17% of the GDP of the US, so it's a big addressable market. So your friends that are new, is there a quick, easy way to make money? The answer is there a quick, easy way to get a 6-pack or to get a black belt? The answer is no.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. No, everything worthwhile takes time. When I started my business, the best advice I got from my stepmom, who I also refer to as my mom, she's like a hero of mine. She literally said, it's going to take you a decade. It's going to take you a decade. So as you're making that decision in year 2, when you're like, wow, I'm putting in all this time, I'm working 7 days a week and I'm grinding and I'm hiring people and I'm trying these new things and I'm not making as much money and it's hard on my relationship with my wife and I don't get to spend as much time with my kids. She's like, just remember, you're 8 years away. You're 8 years away. And I'm telling you guys, she was dead on. It was really like year 11 when my wife turned to me and said, hey, this is finally paying off. And I think what most people don't have is that kind of perspective. We live in a culture of push a button, magic happens.
Yes.
I want an Uber. I need food. Send me weed. I mean, it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
But that's not how business works. Yeah. And that's not how relationships work.
Yeah.
So if you think about it like that, like how long does it take to have a really great relationship? Yeah. You're working on it forever.
Well, for us,
I don't know if I answered your question.
For us, it's been 11 minutes because I know you like us just as much as anybody else.
Oh, for sure. I was stalking you guys online.
We assumed the close.
I was like your 8th follower. I was like, okay, I'm there.
The good news is you were in the top 10 of the followers, so that's a good.
I'm an OG follower.
You are, bro. I love it. Well, it's funny, man, because on your site it talks about the Bureau of Labor Statistics that the median income in 2017 for the top 10% of residential real estate agents was $151,000. However, though, and this isn't just to blow smoke up anybody's ass, but if they were an agent working with the ferries, the average median income was $1.1 million. How does that compare in today's market? Because look, 2017, man, that's good. That's great, but we're in 2021, and you just went through the hardest 460 days of anybody's life, I would imagine. Where do those numbers stand in today's market?
So we obviously, we are a track and measure, that's part of what we do as coaches, right?
Yep.
So I can only tell you where we finished at the end of the first quarter based upon the three, call it product SKUs of clients we work with. So we have our core clients, our elite clients, and our team clients. Our core clients finished at 6 closed transactions. I want to say they're right at around 80,000, and I'm going to misquote the number because I can't see it.
That's all right.
Got the visual in my head.
Sure.
But 6 closed. That doesn't count how many pending or escrow properties that are under contract that Brandon just haven't closed yet, right? So Todd, we take that number out because until it closes, it doesn't matter, right? Every salesperson knows what I'm saying. Sure. The next group up, they were sitting at about 11 closed, right? Which puts them on pace for, call it 44. If you just go quarter by quarter, right? 44 transactions. In context, remember, 50% of the agents doing 90% of the deals. And if you're in the very beginning of the 50%, you only sold 5 houses for the year. You with me?
Yep.
Then the teams that we work with, and these are, some of them own their company, but they run it like a team, right? So meaning like the splits are different. They provide leads. They run it more like how I would run my sales team of, call it 60 people, right? Very organized. We all do the same kind of things. It's more disciplined, if you will, less like, hey, whatever you want to do, go ahead, which is kind of how real estate works. Those men and women are on pace for like 258 transactions for the year.
Wow.
So you can see those layers, and I just tell people like, hey, look, we're good at what we do, no doubt, right? And we have our unique degrees of separation, and there's a lot of competitors in my space. When we started coaching in 1992, nobody was doing it. By the time I got to 2006, anybody that sold a house was suddenly a business coach. You with me on this? Like you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to write a book. I was on a podcast. I spoke on a stage and people clapped, and 17 people told me I was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm like, okay, there's 10,000 people in the room and 17 people told you. You know what I mean? Like, enjoy the 15 seconds of fame.
Yeah.
But, every professional comedian will tell you it takes 7 years of stage time. 7 years of stage time before there's no more butterflies and you actually know what the hell you're doing with an audience.
Yeah.
Right. I had done that before I even became a professional speaker.
Yeah.
Right. Sales meetings and, like in person, my own team. So by the time I got on stage, I was like, oh, all right, just different audience, same thing. Let's go.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about
time.
Yeah, dude, it does. It's funny you talk about speaking. I love to speak, right? And I remember the first sales meeting I gave many years ago. I think Brandon was 10. And, I get up in front of people and, dude, I'm shaking. Since you brought it up, I do want, because there's a lot of people listening and they want to speak and help people and change their lives. Dude, I was shaking. I don't get motion sickness. I think all the crap, I did, nothing bothers me. But it did. I was so pumped and ready, and I got in front of them and I was shaking. And it took a long time. But even now, after I've been on some pretty cool stages with some pretty cool people, dude, you're right. I get nervous as shit. And one thing,
because you don't do it enough.
Right. Yes, sir.
Agreed. It doesn't mean that you don't do it well.
Agreed.
It's just you haven't done it enough.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like, that's the hack. Like, when you've done, like, people are like, how do you get so comfortable with video? I'm like, let's see, just with my current YouTube channel, I have 2,500 videos. My other one before that, I had like 800 videos. And I've done, 7 million presentations. Like, after a while, like, it becomes second nature.
Yeah,
right?
Second nature.
Then I'm not speaking. I am only here to help people.
Yeah.
I'm not a speaker, right? Like, I'm a trainer. I'm a guide. I hope to have a little wisdom. I hope to cut some corners for you, make your life easier. Like, you know what I mean? I take all that ego out of the deal. Like when someone, oh man, you helped me go from like selling 16 homes a year, and like 5 years later, I'm worth like $10 million and I'm doing 300 deals a year. And I'm like, you did the work.
Yeah.
Like, you're welcome. Like, I didn't make a single phone call for you. I didn't, like, all I did was unlock, give you ideas, tell you what's proven, tell you at the right time what to do next, but you did the work.
But that being said, though, Tom, I mean, that's information, and I appreciate you being humble about that. And, it's funny because you never know who you're going to reach, man. I was the drunk guy downtown punching people for several years, right? And I remember
straight into sales, baby.
Right into sales. Yeah, that's it. And then, I remember making that switch, right? My dad passed away in 2017. I made a switch. He was my best friend, still is in heaven. But I made a switch. And that switch, as soon as I remember posting my first motivational post, and I got to tell you, I can't tell you how many people message me and go, dude, that's what the fuck are you doing? Like, that's not you. What are you doing, right?
Yeah. Who are you?
And to kind of fast forward, into now, it's some of the messages that I've received, and I'm no Tom Ferry by any means, but some of the messages that I've received have been so like heart touch. Like, I've been in tears on my couch about, like, man, you saved my life. You did this, you did that. And then you do say, because that's who we are, we say, dude, I didn't do anything. I just gave you a message. I gave you some information. The information you provide, though, dude, and the reason why you're on here, Tom, and again, you didn't have to choose, it's powerful, man, and you really do help people scale. So I appreciate you being humble about that. But the gut check in this show, and you're right, it's like every episode we do, we get a lot more comfortable in talking to people. Again, you're Tom Ferry, for God's sakes, and the truth is, anybody doesn't know who you are, they're a fucking idiot. But they should. But at the end of the day, it's Tom Ferry. So our first episode, I'm like, holy shit, it's Brandon, it's fucking Tom Ferry. We need to make sure, right? But it's not. It gets easier as time goes, and you just start realizing that good people are just good people trying to give good people good knowledge, right?
That's it. That's it. I mean, I am a sum total, probably as you guys are. I am a sum total of the men and women that were kind enough to answer questions for me, to become a mentor, whether they knew it or not. They were a mentor. To be their I listened to like 500 Nightingale Conant audio programs. Then I would meet Wayne Dyer, and I remember like shaking. Like, oh my God, I'm meeting Wayne Dyer, and he's like, relax, kid. You know what I mean? Like, not that big of a deal, right?
It's pretty cool, though.
But now I mean, and obviously he's passed, but like, it's been a while since I've been ever like freaked out by meeting somebody, because now I just realize, like, she's got her issues. He's got it. They just got some narrow goodness in this area of their life, and I just want to tap into that.
On a scale of 1 to 10, Brandon, I mean, and I'm going to ask you, I'm not going to ask Tom because I think we know the answer. How nervous do you think he was to be on this podcast before Father's?
Probably 11 out of 10.
11 out of 10. I'm pretty sure.
Dude, I was totally nervous. What are you guys talking about?
He was eating a fucking tangerine. I mean, like, just talking to us. It's like,
well, you got to get nutrition, man. Like, I got to be ready.
So I want to ask you a question because, we've been blessed enough to work with a bunch of different companies in sales and real estate being one of them, where you're a 1099 independent contractor, you run your own business, do your own
real
thing.
Estate's
Great,
a stretch.
Right?
It's a stretch. I'm going to ask you about that later. But
but you had mentioned your team ones, and you had made a comment. These are the ones that it's the way I would run it, a little bit more disciplined, a little bit more structured, and they do 258 closes versus the others. Is that sheer coincidence? Does it have something to do with that level of structure and discipline? Because we've found it difficult in certain industries to build that structure when someone is coming into that job or industry saying, well, I'm an independent contractor. I run my own shit. I'm going to do this and do this and do this. But how do you implement that structure into a business or an industry like that and get people to buy into it versus what they wanted to do is whatever the fuck they want? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to be clear, whether they are, FTE, full-time employees, or 1099, they are human beings, and human beings are going to do what they're comfortable doing, right? Nothing more, nothing less. So I don't think the model, I mean, obviously, if you're in a certain state, right? If you're in Canada, it's different. If you're in California, it's different from, say, Texas, right? Because, you got to punch it at this time, you got to clock out at that time. And like, California has just done everything in their power to like kill the entrepreneurial spirit, right? Sorry, there will be no more overtime. Right? But anyway, just my personal rant on California. Sorry, California. I still love you. I have a home there. It's all good. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, identifying the leader, what's the culture, remember the Montel Jordan song, "This is how we do it," right? This is how we, I just took out the Friday night stuff,
Brandon was
and I said, like, this is how we do it in our business, right? We have figured out that salespeople that make this many calls, have this many contacts, do this many appointments, make this kind of presentation, follow up this way, convert and close and consult this way, tell people no when it's appropriate, invite people to go to the next step when it's appropriate, and be totally unattached to them doing it, yes or no, right? Because people are just doing what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Like, we found that when you implement call it those iconic approaches or your iconic practices, then things start to work, right? And then when you got somebody that's bucking the ship, you got to say, hey, look, like cowgirl, you got to go do it your way someplace else, or you got to do it like this because this is how we do it around here. It was once explained to me by my former COO, who happened to be, at that time, he would have been the second or third youngest executive at a little company called UPS before they went public, right? And unlike a bunch of his buddies, he didn't take his options and all that stuff and go buy what are now really expensive couches. You with me on this? That stock went through the roof. Yeah. He kept all of his shares, and when he decided to retire after the company went public, he went back to go be the third base coach for his college, and did it basically for free just because of the love of the game. And he said, I remember being in like freshman year on the team, like, spring training, sitting there, coaches, giving orders, and it's him and it's like 5 other freshmen, and then all these old guys that are, like juniors and seniors in college. And he said, and the thing ends, coach claps, and everybody jumped up and ran out on the field. And Kenny was like, he just starts running, right? And next day, running. And all of a sudden he's like goes to like one of the sophomores. What's up with the running thing? He goes, I don't know, man. That's just how we do it around here. Like
Wow.
you want to create that culture where people are like, oh, this is how we do it. Now, the key is that how you do it has to work. Mm-hmm. You with me? Yeah. So, we all know as running sales teams, you've got to have a data approach to your sales methodology. Call it to your one of our most important OKRs is like funnel management, sure. Right? How much top of the funnel, how qualified are they? What do we do to nurture the ones that, don't want to readily get a presentation, an appointment, to learn more? What are we going to do with them? What are we going to do with the ones that drop down? And then, hey, where is this person in the world? Where is this person? What type of person are they? Do we get them with the right salesperson, the right fit? You with me? Like, there's so much in that funnel management to make it effective. How much of it's going to be SMS? How much of it's going to be email? Should we go video? Should we only do presentations? Right? Do I need to demo face-to-face? You got all those factors that come into play, right? So we look at all of that, but at the end of the day, you got to have a methodology you believe in. And the one thing I would say, and this is where a lot of people get stuck, especially people that have been doing it for a long time, is they find the one approach that they did to make them successful. That doesn't always translate over to everybody else.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Todd, you got your secret sauce, sorry about the passing of your father, right? That impacts you and changes who you are. Well, that may not be a transferable skill for someone else.
Sure. Absolutely.
You with me on this?
Yeah, for sure.
So the whole key is like, can I have a methodology or approach? Not that it's going to be like McDonald's and 16-year-olds that can flip burgers, but like, hey, if I hire the right profile, let's just say the right profile is D3 college athletes. Mm-hmm. You with me?
Yep.
I hired D3 college athletes because they didn't get to D2, they didn't get to D1, they didn't get the glory, but they stuck it out and they played all 4 years because they love it and they're a grinder and they wanted to be in the game, but there was no thought that they were ever going to be in the NBA or be in the NFL. Like, when you figure out the right model match for your team, and then you give them those modern tools, and then you give them the data science behind it, and you empower them to be intelligent with their own business. You empower them to say, this is not your career. This is your business, right? Yeah. This is how you're going to get the house you want, go on the vacations you want, have the kind of lifestyle. Everything is possible, but you got to own your numbers and your responsibility. When you do that, some people make it and some people leave.
Yeah.
And you just got to be comfortable with that.
Yeah. It's it's funny, man. It's so good to hear it. And I'm just going to say this because, again, we don't know each other. You gave us an opportunity to have you on our show, which we're blessed to have for sure. But when you actually speak to someone at your level and they actually, you can see the passion, right? For some of you that are listening right now and not watching this, there's passion when you speak. Are you standing, by the way?
Of course.
Okay, love that. Okay, so here's the deal, right? If you're not watching this, Tom's basically standing, and just your body language and your movement and the way you speak and your tonality and things that you're doing just prove to me, and I grew up in a pool hall, and you talk about the streets, like our art of negotiation was reading people, right? Playing a lot of poker and cribbage and talking pinochle and stuff like that. I can see how much it matters to you and how much you care. So I want to kind of transition into this while we're lucky to have you on, but you asked about Make Sales Great Again earlier, and our company. There's a lot of people now, in early 2013, I kind of transitioned, went into timeshare and, was very lucky to have people like Brandon next to me, and we were building teams. We broke every record there was in that industry very quickly, but we sold the product with honesty and integrity. Like, for instance, if I were to ask you, Tom, and this is a fair question, what if you're in the sales industry, what do you think the worst title is to have in the sales industry? Like, what industry do you think?
The most
clear,
hated
like,
sales,
the most
the
hated
most hated type
sales
of
title.
salesperson.
Yeah.
Oh, your industry, car.
If you were to just pick one, what would you think it would be?
See, I like the people I work with that sell me cars. I freaking love because they're just geniuses. Like, they're so rad at what they do. They never sell me anything, and I buy all the time.
You're also not buying.
I'm gonna have to go timeshare. Like,
dude,
I would guess.
Okay, so
right?
here's the deal, right? I kind of led you into it a little bit, but I'll tell you this,
Sure.
right? It you know, the most hated title, if you will, in the sales industry has always been used car salesman, and I always say, especially when I'm on stage, that's because you haven't met a timeshare salesperson yet, right? Because there's a lot of like grimy people in every industry. There's good and bad, don't get me wrong, right? But Make Sales Great Again was spawned because there's a lot of people lying and making massive amounts of money off not selling but stealing, okay? And we wanted to create a sales-based process where we can go into organizations and teach them, listen, you don't have to lie to make a good living in sales. You can make an extraordinary living. And a matter of fact, your long-term business is going to be a lot more powerful than it would be if you were to lie, right? You lose them instantly. What's your opinion? Now, are they salespeople? If they're in the sales industry and they're lying to people during their living, are they salespeople or are they liars?
I mean, I think you take sales out and say banker, doctor. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you're talking about like a fundamental human value. Are they good? Are they evil? Right? Do they care about people? Do they care about themselves?
Oh, I love that.
Some of that is just where they are in their world. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't believe that any one of us were born and, you know, God in her infinite wisdom said, you're going to go be an asshole, right? Like, I just don't believe that, like that stuff happens. But, you know, people, you know, get conditioned by their environment, right? You learn early on, wow, I lied and I got a reward from this. So clearly that's a good idea. You know, again, I like to get into the psychology of this stuff. This is what I was fascinated with when I was young, like studying neurolinguistic programming, like, why is it that two people, you know, one's killing it and one's not? Like, what's the secret sauce? And it was all up here in the way that they were wired, right? The sort of mental blueprint that they had. So I don't know, man. I think at the end of the day, if I was running that company or any one of those businesses, I would incorporate an autoresponder CSAT score. Like, that would eliminate it. And I would hire and fire to your CSAT, like your customer satisfaction rating. So Brandon, you made a pitch and the client, they get an email. Hey, you just spent 45 minutes with Brandon. How did you feel about the experience on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being amazing, 1 being terrible? What feedback do you have? Right. And if Brandon came back consistently at 2, 2, 2, 2, or 10, 10, 10, 10, and then 90 days later, we sent that same client another CSAT and they went from 10 to 2. There might be a little break. The second thing is I'm a huge advocate for, I believe that every presentation should be recorded.
Me too.
Right. There's all these great software solutions like gong.io. And no, I'm not an investor, but I wish I was, that record the presentation. And when, you know, when a salesperson gets off the rails, right? Like, they need to be reminded through software or another methodology that, hey, when you do your intro and you're pre-qualifying and you're discovering needs and you're building rapport and all this stuff, and then they tell you a story and you go into Deep Space Nine telling them your relatable version of that story, listen, don't relate, right? Listen, understand, but then don't tell them 75 other stories. And then next thing you know, you're in so much rapport, you forgot why we're doing this. Like, the goal was to figure out, do they want to move forward? Yes or no. Is the product right? Yes or no. So by doing that kind of stuff, CSAT, an auto text goes to the client and said, would you write a Google review on this salesperson? Yes or no? Right. See, I just believe through software and methodology, you could basically weed out the knuckleheads.
And that's got to start from leadership, though, too. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, because you know, we've been in organizations. We talked about a little bit earlier how, you know, a leader that is worried about letting someone go that's earning a lot of income but not necessarily doing it the right way, right, is afraid to let those people go. Now, once you, like you said, it's an intentional response, because if someone says, hey, listen, I'm okay with you doing that, and they continue to do it, and there's no accountability, there's nothing really holding them back, you're creating this or like, hey man, it's okay to lie. It's okay not to do the right thing. It's okay. And that's the death of a lot of companies. I just want listeners or anybody watching this to know that it doesn't matter what environment you're in. If you start out and you create the culture and the core values to where don't lie, you can still get rich by doing the right thing.
Yeah, well, I love how he said that you're a product. You end up being kind of a product of your environment and conditioned by that. So if you as a leader allow your organization to have a couple of those people in there. Listen, if in the industries we've worked with, and you didn't know the lie pitch unless someone told it to you, and everyone has the same shit they want to say, you know what I mean? Right. So if you don't, as leadership, if you don't allow that to happen, then the environment isn't going to put them into a place where they are lying. You know what I mean? So I just love that I love that that's where you went with
So
it.
flip side, let's say this. You got a guy that's out there and he's doing the right thing, he's selling, right? And he is one of the best in the industry. And I'm sure you know this probably way better than we do, Tom, but like if someone's excelling at a high level, a lot of times they're not always willing to give you the sauce or their pitch, right? They're like, man, oh God, like Brandon's coming. He looks pretty sharp. I don't want to give him my pitch because he may surpass me in the company or the industry. Do you think that's okay? Or do you think it's better to share? I mean, what's your opinion on that?
I mean, I basically, a cultural belief for us is like, hey, first, there's no wrong way to do it, right? We just believe there's no wrong way, right? So, Brandon's got his secret sauce, his special gifts, his DNA that's going to cause him to be more likable, more friendly for a certain segment of the addressable market. Todd, same thing with you, same thing with me. I have found females with accents outperform everybody over the phone, period, end of story, right? Like, so, but what is that? But the other thing you got to look at is if you have someone like that inside your organization who just refuses to share, right? Like that person's kind of a cancer. Like in our business, culturally, here's what we believe: R&D. And I don't mean like research and development. I mean like rip off and duplicate, right? Like there is enough for all of us. How do we all get better? You with me? Like if the whole company does better, we all do better. If the clients do better. And if I've got, 15 people on the sales team and 2 are making all the money and 13 are dying, that's not a fun environment to be in, even if you're a part of the 2.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, just fire everybody else and just give me all the leads, right? But even that is like egotistical, and there's no way for you to actually scope out all those presentations to manage all of that stuff, right? Yeah. Everybody's got their balance of energy and time and presentation ability. So I'm a huge advocate. Like we take our own sales team. We're like, okay, so Brandon, you're the number one, like, every month, like they get the belt, right? Like you're the king this month, you're the queen this month. And like, Cheryl, how'd you do it? Like, what are you doing differently? And she's like, well, I really focus more on people in New York, or I focus on this, or I focus on teams, and I seem to resonate with them more. And I'm able to get, a higher ticket sale or whatever, whatever it may be. Like we're very mindful that like you have to have that in your culture. Yeah. So, you're going to find some of those alpha dogs that are like, screw all of you guys. My response is that person's probably going to go start their deal anyway. Help them accelerate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that.
Yeah, because I love it because, in sales, it sometimes is really easy to understand that there is a high turnover and you just accept it. And then you also realize that it's very top heavy, the 80-20 rule classic. And then you don't really focus. I just love that you said you don't want a team of 15 and 2 people are making money. The other 13 can't pay their bills. You want, you understand that it needs to be top heavy. You're not going to reinvent the wheel, but you also want to try and change that formula and get everyone to make money.
But let me give you a thought, right? So one of my board members is the former president of Zillow, and I want to say he had anywhere between 800 to 1,000 salespeople in multiple locations. And his whole thing was 75% of your sales team has got to meet quota every single month. 75%. And if less than 75% of your sales team is matching your quota, it either means you got the wrong leader in place, you got the wrong process in place, right? There's something culturally that's off. Notice he never said leads, prospects. Yeah. It's never the prospect's fault. You with me on this? He's like, no, the addressable market is big enough. If 75% of our sales team isn't hitting quota, maybe our training program is off. Maybe our onboarding process is off. Maybe who we're trying to hire is off. So a smart leader is always going to say, okay, it's any one of those 5 things. Now, what am I going to do about it? Yeah. What do I need to test? Let's do a new cohort of salespeople and let's only hire to this model match. And then we'll do another cohort hiring to this model match. This group's going to get training this way. This one's going to get training that way. And let's measure the result and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right? Like
genius.
business is engineering. That's what people don't get. Like business is math. It's a math equation. How many people, how many leads, how many appointments, what's the conversion percentage? How do I ratchet it up? How do I extend lifetime value of not just the client, but how do I extend lifetime value of my sales team?
I keep trying to tell people that, and everyone just says I'm an accounting nerd. But
you are a nerd, but you're also good at a lot of things.
But you got to know your numbers, man. That's what sales. You have to know your numbers. So I'm glad Tom Ferry said it. I just want everyone to know this. Tom Ferry said it.
I believe the new rule of sales management is you can't have a personality without a data. Right? It's two in a box, right? Two in a box. Because if you go all data, Brandon, what happens, right? I'm not saying you, but you can lose a little of the heart and soul and the emotional side of sales, right? And like what a salesperson who's straight commission, the emotions they go through. But if you only have the, come on, man, you can do it, then it's hard for sometimes that person to articulate like the mechanics of the adjustment that need to be made. Yeah. You with me? So we believe you got to have both. You got to have, like, let's just call it sales and charisma with ops. Those two in a box working together to help the entire team. That's how you win, in my opinion.
And I couldn't agree more. So that being said, let me ask you a question. There's people that are the good, rah, let's go guys, let's go out there and bust some ass. And then there's some guys that are really good at the data portion. We're hearing a lot of the similarities with a lot of people that are very successful. Yeah. Said, it's important for you to stay in your lane, right? Like you're not going to be good at everything. So, they say, hey, if you're the motivation guy and you're the recognition guy, we talked to a previous gentleman that is very, very well to do, has a massive company. He says, man, he goes, I have hired people that are better than me at things that I'm not good at and put in positions to where now I'm the CEO that walks around and says, hey man, how you doing? How's the family doing? He goes, I'm the culture guy. He goes, that's how I've created my company. I want them to know that I care, which we know is very important, but also intentionally hiring someone that is very good at what they do. How important is that in your opinion? Forget okay, Tom Ferry, he knows he's great at a lot of things, right? But I'm sure there's some things that you have people in place for that are better than you at. And again, how important is their opinion? Because I mean, look, we're talking about Tristan behind the screen right now, right? Everybody wants to take a picture of Tristan, okay? You're never going to have hair like Tristan. He looks amazing, right? So there's things.
I had it. I had these little funny.
Tom's like, no.
We did a video on that.
We're looking that one up. Tristan, I'm going to give you my phone number.
On one of my spoof. Like that could be on Instagram. So,
Tristan, we need some dirt. You can contact us. Don't worry, we'll get some dirt on Tom. But it's important.
Yeah. So fellas, look, I'll give you context for the person that's listening. Maybe you're a young entrepreneur, or maybe you're thinking about starting your own business. I remember leaving my house in Newport Beach, saying to my wife, "Okay, I'm going to go spend some time with Bill Mitchell, who's my mentor." And I said, we know what we want to do. We know we want to start a company. And I came home that day with a 3,000 square foot lease and 11 people and $50,000 a month in monthly burn. And she's like, you were only gone for 6 hours. I'm like, baby, I'm going to create, I'm going to coach, I'm going to create, I'm going to connect, I'm going to contribute. Someone else has got to do data. Someone else has got to do sales management. I need 3 salespeople. I need someone to head up the coaching division. I need someone to help me with the content. So I just started hiring people. I started collecting key people that I had trust and faith in that I knew could do those roles. And we went from 0 to north of $2 million in revenue. Then we got to $5 million, and we got to $10 million in revenue in 3 years, right? Because when you put the right people in the right seat, good to great, right? OKR, like every book you've ever read on management, it's freaking true. Yeah. But the mistake is people's egos are so big. Nobody can do it better than me. Nobody can hire like me. Nobody can sell like me. Nobody can present like me. I have 6 or 7 other presenters that are out doing, someone else is doing a seminar right now, and I'm hanging with you guys and then going into a management meeting in a couple of minutes. You got to do the highest and best, and you got to scale yourself. Otherwise, you could be the hero with a million minions around you, but I don't want that.
Yeah. No. I agree completely. Well, Tom, listen, man, we know that, how important of a guy you are and how much time, but it's nice getting to know the real you, right? I'm sure this is how you are on stage. I think anybody listening or watching this right now just needs to understand, you're just a normal guy that's doing extraordinary things, that cares about people in a very, very, very high way. And I can't thank you enough for being here. I just want to ask you one question. I ask everybody. why did you say yes again to us for those who didn't really listen? Because you've got 416,000 subscribers on YouTube. You have millions and millions of views. This isn't to pat anybody in the back, but you said yes to us, okay? You're talking about reaching someone. Can you just give us a short and sweet, real quick, of why you said yes to us for anybody listening? Because you're Tom Ferry, for God's sakes. I mean, that's what it is. What it is.
You want to know, like, here's like the bottom line. Like, it's two things. First, because people said yes to me. So if I don't pay it forward, I am a jerk, in my opinion, right? So like, I literally was just on an event like this that I did that I got paid $1 gazillion to do. And now I'm doing this one and it's free and it's just paying it forward. Right. I think you have to remember, like, other people helped you get here too. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like every one of us had, I always use like the example, like somebody else said, okay, man, I can help you get over the fence. Here you go. Right. Yeah. So I'm trying to do the same thing. Right. I don't want to ever be that guy that's like hard to reach or too hard to connect with, or right. So I think that's just like in my heart of hearts where I land. And the second thing is, I remember just going on your Instagram page and going, yeah, these guys look kind of cool. You got to just trust your gut. He's got smiling eyes. All right, I got smiling eyes. Let's go.
Yeah, that's cool. We thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
I appreciate the time.
I can't thank you for your time more than we already have. I mean, I've followed you for a while. I have a family in real estate out in LA, and it's I can be fanboy for a second, but I'm a huge fan of yours. And
appreciate
to have you kind of 2-on-1, so to speak, or 2-on-3 really is is awesome for us. We joke about when we started this, and it's really with all sincerity. People talk about masterminds and a lot of these really cool things. You have to spend a lot of money on personal development, and the cameras aren't the cheapest things in the world. But when we initially did this, I swear to God, if we have 3 listeners, I don't care, because selfishly. It's massive for even just me, and just hopefully the platform allows a lot of other people to hear too, just kind of general conversation, ask you some real questions. So from the bottom of my heart, man, I can't thank you enough for taking the time and talking with us today,
a couple things, guys, before we let you go. You're doing an event called the Success Summit in Dallas on October 5th through the 7th. You're also doing an online event called the Blueprint, which is 100% free, June 2nd and 3rd, which is pretty cool. It just speaks about who you are. You can find out all the information at tomferry.com. You can follow him on Instagram at Tom Ferry, Facebook, all the other fun shit.
Yeah, you type in Tom Ferry, you'll find me.
I tried to find a domain name I could buy for it says Tom Ferry, but I think you bought it.
You were trying to resell it.
There was a guy whose business was called Tom Ferry Knives, and that guy doesn't like me at all, because what's the old line, like, where do they hide all the dead bodies? On the second page of Google. He's on like page 50. Sorry, Tom Ferry Knives. Just saying.
Love that. Awesome. Love that. Well, let me ask you something. If we're out in California, I mean, you obviously you'd want us to stop by, right? I mean, there's not like to say hi.
I live in Dallas now, man. So I'm a little closer. I'm only like 2.5 hours away. So
it's
I'm
funny.
in downtown Dallas.
We had Matt Monero. We're talking to Judge Graham. They're in Dallas as well, and they told us to come out. I mean, I'm pretty sure that it would be an honor to have us stop by and see you. Is that fair to say?
Perfect.
Absolutely. I love that. Did you say on Thursday? Are you closing for the date?
We literally just did. And for those of you listening, we just closed Tom Ferry. So that was great. It was easy.
That was great. I mean, I was like, yes, but I'll be in California next Thursday, and then I'll be back here in Dallas. I'll be doing Blueprint next week in California.
It's crazy. So if we're in California, then you're going to be
That's weird. I'll be in California.
I'll be in California.
Actually, that's not even a joke. My wife's family lives in California, so I'm going out there. But anyways.
Tom, thanks so much,
brother. Hold on. The answer is yes.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Now we're close.
This is where we're going to be. And yes, California is a big state. So yeah, it's pretty big. Be in Orange County, California. In Newport Beach.
We will find you. We will find you, Tom. We're going to find you. But dude, thanks so much.
I love it. What is is your sponsor like these crazy giant cans of whatever you're
drinking? No, actually, they need to be, because we're way cooler than they think we are.
We're trying to get random sponsors.
Yeah, they don't know us yet, but we're going
to. When you guys are big time, like, okay, I'm going to give you a little heads up. Don't worry about sponsors or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Only until maybe 2 months ago did someone say to me, hey, if you actually allowed advertising on your YouTube channel, you'd make a lot of money. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want ads.
That's very true.
I mean, right? I mean, this. I'm drinking bourbon, in case you guys are wondering.
God, I love that.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
I hope that you're.
I got to go to a management meeting, guys. Super fun.
Thank you so much for your time.
Look forward to seeing you in Dallas or California or wherever we're traveling.
We'll
and for all my friends out there listening.
You love the clap, dude.
Wait,
that sounds real. So just so you guys know, like just Just so you guys know, when
For fuck's sake,
for
dude.
like
I mean,
editing
you
and
let
sound
it
and
go-
stuff,
the clap,
you have
is
to
that
do you have to do a clap so you can the editors or whatever they can, I don't know.
Well, no, that's because
anyways.
that's because we're poor and we don't have the right equipment.
Well, that's true.
Okay,
but,
okay, all right.
but so we clap right before we come on. And I always actually tell him to do it. He just has a better clap than me. But I don't know. That sounded really cool. You love the clap?
But you also just admitted I have a better clap.
Damn
than
it.
me.
That's
But
good. Well, your hands are smaller, so it's easier.
Wow, aggressive. I'm telling you, that's a myth, by the way. I'm just gonna let you know. So his feet size, hand size.
It's a myth sometimes, and it's also true sometimes.
I'm gonna lean towards you. Let's get into it. I mean, guys, listen. Here's the truth. Let's get please. God, Jesus, Tom was gonna put us all over social media. Now he's done.
No,
just because you went into clap. Really weird. Okay. Sometimes you catch things. We caught Tom Ferry today, and the cool thing about Tom Ferry is that Tom Ferry is a stud. I mean, I don't know if you guys really, you got to go back and listen because everything he was saying was talking about culture and putting people in the right positions. And again, it seems to be very repetitive. If you guys are listening or watching this, you need to know that every single giant that we've had on, from Danelle Delgado to Bradley to Tom Ferry to all these, to Matt Namaro, Judge Graham, to, Ben Murison, it doesn't matter who, we've had so many, we've been very blessed, let's say, to have some really, really great people on the show. And the crazy thing about it is that they all have so many similar things. They say the same stuff. He says, you got to hire and fire to your core values. Our previous guest said the same thing. The previous guest said the same thing. If they're not aligned, people aren't aligned with your core values, you cannot have them in your organization, no matter how successful they are, you know?
Yeah, 100%, dude. I'm trying to actually, as you're talking, I'm trying to look at kind of some of my favorite things that he said. I'll say, well, you already said the hire and fire thing, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse there. We've talked about it a lot. One thing that he said that is so simple that I have, obviously we've got a passion for, is, and he even said in the beginning, he's like, listen, we have, what did he say? Endemic churn business. I don't even know what endemic means, but it sounded really good. He said, we have an endemic churn business. We'll hire 200,000 leave, et cetera. That being said, there was a portion of that conversation where he was talking about one of his higher end friends and said, listen, you have to retain versus replace. It's where he said a third of the people were producing and the other or living up to the core values and the quotas, and 2/3 weren't. Instead of just going and replacing those other 2/3.
Wait, so you're saying it's important to retain talent?
Weird, right? They focused on the other 2/3 to get them on board first before just saying, fuck off, we're going to hire another 2/3.
Yeah.
It's weird, right?
It's so weird. It's like wait, you want to keep talent? I think that there's a lot of CEOs or leaders in the world or business owners that just believe that there's so much fucking talent out there that they can just, it's okay. Let's just let those guys go. We can replace them. Guys, it's not true. You know, he's talking about sharing information, like sharing the pitch. There's a lot of you out there that are like, hey, I'm not going to share my shit. I don't want that person to surpass me. They live by R&D, and R&D for them stands for rip off and duplicate, right? When they give the belt, if you will, in this organization, when they're recognizing the top talent, they can't wait to give the information that their pitch, if you will, to other people in the organization, because they're okay with people ripping it off and duplicate, because there's enough to go around. And in my personal opinion, the only reason why someone wouldn't share is A, they're a selfish fuck, and B, they're pitching something they shouldn't be pitching,
100%.
right? Yeah. Where they don't share my shit. What, you're fucking lying.
They're insecure
you're doing
and they're scared. They don't want to be beat. But I would, if someone's gonna beat me, or if I'm going to beat someone else.
No one's ever beat me,
I know, right?
No one's ever beat me.
But you want to be going up against the best, you would think, but there's a lot of people out there that I guess don't. They want the unfair advantage, or they just don't want other people to have their shit, whatever that means.
It's true.
It's annoying, dude. I actually hate
it. He actually said it, right? He was like, if someone doesn't want to share anything, they're going to be a cancer to your culture and your environment. So if anybody's listening, sales leaders, management, CEOs, business owners, whoever's listening, understand this, okay? If you are building anything, any type of business organization, and you're not sharing something, and not a part of your core values and cultures, get rid of these people if you can't help them or you can't change them. It's possible to change people, but you're listening to Tom Ferry. This guy's, what do you say? He's doing $45 million this year in coaching and development in a specific real estate market. Okay, he's not like Mr. Guru, a psychologist, and show you how to meditate. He's the type of guy, right, that's going to say, dude, you either fit in my culture or you don't. And I know that we talk about a lot on our shows, but dude, it's everything that we thought, which is great, is true.
Yeah, it's validation.
It's true.
I actually love that he gave some pretty tangible suggestions if you did want to kind of weed out any of those people that are either lying or whatever the case may be. He said, with the customer satisfaction score things, you can literally hire and fire to the customer satisfaction scores. And what he said was genius. He goes, listen, you may have someone that gets 10s, directly after the transaction or the presentation or whatever the case may be. He said, but then if you send the clients another one 90 days later to make sure they're still comfortable with what they have or with what they got sold is doing the things that they were told that it would do, if you see a big disparity between the right away survey and the 90-day survey, something's still wrong. So don't let the immediate 9s and 10s out of 9 and 10 trick you into thinking that that's someone doing the right thing. You really do that lag test, which would be genius. Another one is asking for Google reviews. And then last but not least, he just generally says, listen, through software and methodologies, you can weed out the liars and those people that you wouldn't want in your organization anyways. And
you absolutely
and
should.
Leaders know they can nowadays.
Yes.
And in my opinion, if a leader is even concerned or thinks that something's going on and they know, no one has to tell them, they know that there is software like that can do it and record presentations and stuff, and they don't, they're as bad as the person fucking lying.
Hang on. Worse, because they're empowering that type of culture to let other people come in. Because the first thing they're going to say, okay, let's put it in this way, right? You create that type of culture, they let someone do it, people go, oh shit, I'm going to go work for that guy that's going to allow me to lie or do something wrong in that committee, right? The flip side, you create a culture and like, dude, I'm not going to allow that shit. Those people are going to stay away that lie. They're like, dude, they ain't going to allow that shit there, right? So it's all about creating that culture. And what is culture, he said, right? And accountability. We asked him because he's that no bullshit type of guy. He says, dude, what is accountability to him? And I'll just give you guys the 3 keys that he said to me that I wrote down. It's caring. It's the willingness to ask good questions to your people. And where are you at with your goals? Because that's accountability. And I think a lot of people think it's just stats. The caring portion
and like micromanagement.
Right, micromanagement. It's not. It's a part of it. Like you said, you got to have the data, right? But you have to care about your people. I mean, look, we met Tristan, the very handsome person that works with Tom. He's so when he came on the screen, I just lost all self-confidence. He was but it's crazy though. You see the type of people that Tom worked with, and they are such good people because he creates that type of culture in that environment. But the fact that he's that guy is big to me. One of the other things he said, we're talking about, a lot of people say, oh, I'm 1099, I can do whatever the fuck I want, right? And he said, listen, there's no difference between a 1099 employee and a W-2 employee. People are going to do what people want to do. And at the end of the day, should you talk people into wanting to be in your environment and working, actually coming to work, you want to give them the tools and you want to help them. But people, to Tom's point, are going to do what they want to do. You got to coach until it's just time to cut ties. Right?
Yeah, he talked about how you have to set up that methodology, make sure that it's a transferable methodology, and you have to make sure that the how you do it actually works. And then you just tell them, this is how we, this is how we do it. You knew the song? We're going to start saying, I know the song. We do it. Listen, when it gets past 1 a.m. and I've had a couple drinks, my wife Melissa can tell you. I mean,
you're the best Whitney singer ever. I'll give you a compliment. You're the best Whitney singer I've ever heard in my life.
Well, that's damn sure.
I mean, I'm just going to say that.
100% accurate.
We're going to end it with this, guys. Listen, another podcast, another great guest, an extraordinary guest with me and B-Bisc here. I'm going to end it with this. One of the most powerful things that he said to me is very simple, but I want you guys to listen to these 3 words. Focus on relationships. Every scalable person that we've talked to with massive companies has said, focus on relationships. Don't be a dick. Don't be a piece of shit. Don't be that hardcore guy. And if it's a culture you want to build, that's fine. But you got to care. You got to love on those people, and you got to create the environment and keep it that way according to your core values consistently.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Gut check. Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
It's pretty fucking easy.
Dick. And don't get the clap. See you guys next episode. If you love this guest as much as we did, please follow them on all their social media platforms. The way to support us is to like and comment on all your favorite episodes. And please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification for the next Gut Check Uncut.